Imagine a world where the hands of the clock seem to spin ever faster, and where there's always a gentle nudge to buy more, do more, have more. In the midst of all this, though, there's a gentler choice, one that invites a slower, richer life. Though the concept is straightforward, its impact runs deep, especially for those of us who have witnessed years of change and now find ourselves longing for calm and purpose as we get older. As time goes by and we enter our late 50s or early 60s, the importance of having more and more things starts to fade. When we were younger, it often seemed as if having lots of belongings was a sign of success. Advertisements were everywhere, encouraging us to spend, collect, and equate what we owned with who we were. Yet, with the wisdom that comes from experience, many of us see now that true happiness doesn't come from our possessions. Our modern world is steeped in a culture that encourages constant purchasing. We're often told, both quietly and loudly, that we only truly belong when we're buying something new. The shiniest technology, a stylish new car, trips that promise luxury. These things are marketed as gateways to joy, but in reality, none of this satisfies our hearts in a lasting way. For those of us who look back on slower, simpler days, all this noise can feel too much. But we do have another option. We can choose, now more than ever, to pause, take a breath, and live more slowly. I'd like to share a personal story about letting go. Years ago, I decided to downsize my life. I sold my big house and moved into a much smaller place, a little houseboat. Houseboats aren't large at all, just over 50 feet long and barely 7 feet wide. There was space only for what was absolutely needed. Letting go of things was difficult at first. I had boxes stacked with things I hadn't looked at in years, not to mention assorted kitchen appliances I never remembered buying. I even owned 5 coffee makers. But as I chose to give these things away, I noticed a feeling of relief, as if I was leaving behind more than just objects, but a heavy emotional load as well. Living in that cozy space, with only what I truly needed, brought a freedom I hadn't felt in a long time. It felt as if a giant burden had melted away. Even if you aren't moving, this process of clearing out can be powerful. Take a weekend. Go through your kitchen, closets, or garage. See what you no longer use or need, and let it go. You'll likely be surprised how much lighter your mind will feel along with your home. Now, I have nothing against the idea of running a business. Capitalism, on the whole, helps put good products and services out into the world, and it's fair for someone to make a living for their efforts. If Susan bakes a lovely loaf of bread and I buy a piece, I'm happy to pay her for her work. Trouble comes, however, when the balance tips, when we buy for the sake of buying. One of the strengths of a capitalist system is its competitiveness. If one company charges too much, someone else eventually offers better value. Yet, this can also create a never-ending loop, always urging us to consume, to keep up, to want the next new thing. As we grow older, we realize many of those essential purchases weren't really needed at all. What matters most are relationships, good memories, and quiet moments to reflect. Choosing a simpler path in a busy, complicated world means swimming against the current. It can feel lonely at first. Most people seem to be caught up in rushing around, constantly searching for the next purchase or distraction. But stepping away from this treadmill can open your eyes. You'll begin to notice little joys, the gentle sound of wind through the trees, sunlight resting on your hands, peaceful moments to just think and breathe. These experiences can't be bought, but they offer a deep and lasting fullness. Simple living is not about going without. It's about choosing wisely. It means thinking carefully about what really brings you happiness and freeing yourself from the rest. When you slow down and strip away the constant demands for more, you give yourself the space to appreciate what you already have. At first, friends or family may be puzzled by your change in lifestyle, but gradually, the comfort and peace that come from this choice will far outweigh any doubts, leaving you more deeply satisfied than you might have imagined. As the years pass, what brings us joy tends to become simpler. Bold adventures and big purchases might not attract us as much as before. Instead, true happiness is found in the smallest things: sharing a cup of coffee on a chilly morning, listening to soft music, spending gentle time with those you love, enjoying birds at the feeder outside your kitchen window. These moments turn into life's true treasures, and most of them cost nothing at all. This is one of the greatest gifts of choosing a slower pace. When you step away from the endless push to buy, to upgrade, to keep up, it becomes clear that the best pleasures aren't for sale. You might start a garden or pick up a craft you've ignored for years. You may give attention to a book that's been sitting on your shelf, or return to a favorite pastime. When you remove the constant buzz of buying, you make room for these tiny, sustaining joys, and they last so much longer than any object ever could. Of course, the calls of consumer culture don't completely fade, even when you've committed to living more simply. There will still be days when an ad tempts you, or you find yourself browsing a store online just to pass the time. It's easy, even comforting, to give in and buy something new. Picture it. How many of us have logged onto a website like Amazon with no clear goal, yet wind up filling a cart with things we don't really need? That's how consumerism works. It creates wants we never had. But with practice, resisting those urges grows easier each time. Start small. Try skipping purchases for a day, then see if you can last 2 days, then a week. Little by little, the desire to always buy fades, and you discover contentment with what you already own. When you aren't busy buying, your days open up. What will you use that new space for? The options are endless, but the most rewarding ones come from activities that lift your spirits and have real meaning. Maybe you'll try your hand at knitting, or enjoy gentle walks in nature each morning. Perhaps you'll spend more time with grandchildren, sharing old stories and passing on lessons learned. Or maybe you'll return to that hobby or craft that you've always loved, but put aside for later. By focusing on doing instead of owning, you'll find a deep joy and fulfillment. And none of this requires shopping. It's true, though, that living differently can be challenging. Old habits and beliefs die hard. We have all grown up being told that what we have is who we are, and it can take time to let go of the old ways. Society pushes us to spend because it benefits those in charge. The more we buy, the more they prosper. Choosing to walk away from that path can be uneasy. You may sometimes feel out of step or misunderstood, especially if loved ones continue living differently. But this discomfort fades, and with time, you'll feel more peaceful, knowing you're living closer to what you deeply believe and value. The effort is real, but so are the rewards. One of the biggest gifts that comes from slowing down is financial freedom. When you buy less, you save more. And that money can be used for what matters to you most. Maybe it's traveling to visit your children, taking care of your health, or saving so you can feel calm and secure as you get older. Living simply lowers the financial strain that many people feel, especially as they reach retirement. Instead of working extra hours just to support endless buying, you can use your time and savings for what truly brings joy. You might even find that a good life costs much less than you ever expected. As we grow older, we spend more time thinking about where we've been, what we've done, and the lessons we've collected. When you live quietly and pay attention, you have the chance to reflect with care. Looking back, I don't wish I'd bought more things or followed every fad. What I hold close now are the simple times with loved ones, peaceful mornings, and a calm that follows living in a way that matches my values. Sure, I've made mistakes here and there, but I wouldn't go back and change my path. Choosing to live intentionally, with fewer things and at a slower pace, has brought a contentment that no purchase ever could. And as we get closer to the last chapters of life, many of us begin to consider what legacy we're leaving. What will our children and grandchildren remember? For me, it isn't important to leave behind expensive belongings, but rather to pass on the way I lived, with mindfulness, simplicity, and gratitude for the things that matter most. I hope my family will remember not the things I owned, but the care with which I lived each day. I want them to know that joy isn't about piling up stuff, but about finding beauty in life's quiet, everyday pleasures. And I hope they will find their own peaceful path, just as I have. Health and well-being become more precious as we grow older. In a society that often wants us to do more and own more, it's surprisingly easy to set aside the care of our bodies and minds. Embracing a slower lifestyle helps bring health back to the center of our days. With more room for rest, nourishing food, and gentle activity, we start to notice what our bodies really need. Quiet time helps us listen to ourselves, to know when to take a break, when to go outside for a walk, when to reach out for support or to eat better. This gentle awareness is a wonderful part of living slowly. Time in nature also becomes especially meaningful. You might take regular walks in a park near your home, start a small vegetable or flower garden, or simply enjoy sitting outside to soak in the sights and sounds. Studies show that being in nature lowers stress, improves your mood, and helps your mind stay clear. When you live slowly, health isn't an afterthought, it's a top priority. With less stress from chasing after more, you can give care to what matters most, your own well-being, now and in the years that follow. In closing, choosing to live with less hurry, less noise, and less stuff isn't always simple, but it is truly rewarding. It lets us step away from the constant calls to consume and instead focus on what truly matters, our relationships, meaningful experiences, and the peace that grows from within. For those entering their 60s or 70s, this gentle shift offers space to look back, to let go, and to welcome a deeper sense of happiness and purpose. It's a path that's brought me comfort and contentment, and I warmly invite you to walk it with me. Thank you for spending your time with this message. If these stories touched or encouraged you, please leave a 1 in the comments. If not, a 0 is appreciated. Your thoughts mean so much to us, and I'm grateful you joined me here today.